the first things that I think you're probably going to notice since you're watching them eat is that when these sea turtles take a mouthful of food and water, they then squirt that excess water out through their nostrils. So sea turtles, they can drink salt water if they need to. They just don't want to drink salt water every time they take a mouthful of food and water. So they're going to squirt that excess water out through their nostrils. Now, they do breathe air like you and me, but when you see they come to the surface to breathe, you'll see they open their mouth to take that breath of air. The nostrils are for them to either expel excess water or for the sea turtles to smell through. Now, sea turtles don't smell above water like us, though. Sea turtles smell underwater. They bring water through their nostrils across an organ in their mouth. That's how they smell the water. A female sea turtle goes back to the same beach that she hatched from to lay her eggs again. That's how scientists believe females can find their way back to those beaches, is by using that sense of smell. But let's talk more about them breathing air. Because yeah, a sea turtle's an air breather, just like you and me. But sea turtles have very specially designed biology, which allows them to be able to stay underwater for extended periods of time. Now, the amount of time a turtle can stay underwater varies by the species. The shortest amount of time is about 45 minutes. That's for the hawksbills. The leatherbacks are around an hour and a half. Loggerheads and kimps about 2 to 2.5 hours. But for these green sea turtles, they can stay underwater for almost 5 hours. Now, with me saying that, a sea turtle will typically come to the surface and breathe about every 5 to 20 minutes. When they're underwater for extended periods, or either they're doing a long or deep dive, or when they are resting. They do rest on the bottom, underneath the surface of the water. Now, I use the term resting, though, over sleep, and that's because sea turtles just don't sleep like we do. That goes back to them being a conscious breather. They can't go into an unconscious sleep. They need to be aware of when their body needs to replenish that supply of oxygen, and of course to be aware of predators. So they don't really sleep like we think of it. They do more of what we would think of as resting. Now, the amount of time a turtle rests on the bottom, how secure they feel. It could just be 10 or 20 minutes at a time, but if they're feeling very safe and secure, they could rest on the bottom for hours at a time. And of course, you do see the sea turtles up here in this kind of group living situation, but sea turtles are not social animals, so they don't live in a family or a group together out in the ocean. Sea turtles just live all by themselves. But green sea turtles can typically be housed together without any issue. They're pretty tolerant of each other, which is because green sea turtles all gather together in the same areas of seagrass. They eat around each other, so they're just tolerant of having other turtles around them. Now, other species, like all over, across Florida, the U.S., and even sometimes from around the world, there's actually not a lot of facilities that treat sea turtles with that fibropapillomavirus. We'll get a lot of turtles that transfer to our hospital specifically for that treatment. I mentioned buckwheat, alfalfa, and spanky. The reason those 3 turtles have names that match each other is because they were 3 turtles that transferred here at the same time to get treated for that fibropapillomavirus. But also, of all the turtle hospitals in the United States, which there are 12 of us, we are the largest. So sometimes sea turtles get rescued in an area where there's another hospital that's closer than ours, but that hospital is at capacity, has no more room for sea turtles. One thing about our facility is we don't have a capacity. I mean, yes, there's only so much room in tanks, but I don't know if anybody's noticed yet, our turtle hospital is built on an old motel property. If we need to, you can take those little plastic pools that are for kids, put turtles in those, we just fill up all these old motel rooms with turtles in little plastic pools. We will always find a way to provide care for any turtle that needs it. We would never, ever say no to a turtle. That's why the founder of the turtle hospital, he wanted to be closer to the ocean, so he purchased this little motel in the Florida Keys, moved down here, started boating, fishing, and when he did that, he saw sea turtles. He thought they were amazing, the most incredible animals he'd ever seen in his life, fell in love with them. Unfortunately, he also see these sea turtles that were sick or injured, and at that time in the Keys, there was nobody that did anything to help a sick or injured sea turtle. So that inspired him to start a sea turtle hospital. He built a little sea turtle hospital here on his motel property. He used the profits that he made from the motel to be able to fund the hospital. It wasn't like today where we were open to the public. It was just kind of one of those things, like we stayed here at this motel, there was this little turtle hospital operating back here as well. Now, that's the way it worked up until 2005. Now, in 2005, Hurricane Wilma pushed a 9-foot storm surge. Go ahead and come in here, and you're welcome, look around, check out all the turtles. We're looking at sea turtles today, means they live in the ocean, so they're in salt water, and the water comes directly in from the bay back here behind us. Now, we do bring the water through filtration. What we want to do, though, is get the water nice and clear. But if you guys want to see sea turtles today, it's no fun if they're all in dark and murky water and you can't check them out. We are not, though, filtering the water in the sense that we're removing natural bacteria or other things along those lines. The turtles' immune systems need to remain exposed to those. That's how they'll stay strong against them. All right, let's introduce all the turtles to you. You guys met have so many green sea turtles. Let's talk about some loggerheads. I have 2 loggerheads up here. I'll introduce the little guy to you first. This is Comet. Comet is about a 50-pound loggerhead. And you can see Comet has experienced some buoyancy issues. This is a turtle that was found floating, unable to dive due to an impaction in intestinal gas. Now, Comet is actually making a lot of progress with us. The impaction is almost completely moved through the system, but as long as there is still some of that impaction in there, it will always continue to create intestinal gas. So once that impaction is completely out, then Comet will get rid of the rest of the gas that's still creating this buoyancy issue and then be able to be released. The white strips on the shell is sometimes when they have really bad buoyancy issues, they list sideways in the water. We can actually attach like floaties to their shell to help balance them. So that's what the little strips are. You can see right now, though, because that impaction is almost out, we're just seeing that buoyancy issue in the very back end there now, instead of Comet completely sitting sideways in the water like he was when he first checked here into our turtle hospital. All right, so there's Comet, and then over on this side we have a much larger loggerhead. This is a 200-pound adult male loggerhead. His name is Hunter. Now, Hunter has been the victim of a boat strike, so along the left side of the shell, see the propeller marks from where that propeller, oh, I'm sorry, spider, I didn't mean to mess with your web. Sorry, baby. He's like, what's going on, earthquake? But Hunter has been hit by that boat, so you see the propeller strikes. Now, Hunter was another turtle that was found floating. I finished your round of antibiotics. So, same thing for Hunter. The shell is healing very well, though. The scar tissue is filling in. Hunter will always have scars on his shell from where that boat strike was, but the scar tissue will fill in, the scoots will regrow back over, and those injuries will completely heal as well. So once the injury to the shell has healed a bit more, we've gone through his round of antibiotics. Anytime a turtle's been on meds, they have to be medication-free for 2 weeks before they can get released. Once all that happens, Hunter's back out there in the ocean to be again. Now, I got asked earlier, the lady asked me, do you ever see the same turtle back at your turtle hospital more than once? Does not happen very often. In 30 years, only 2 times have we seen the same turtle back at our hospital. Hunter's number 2. She's almost cleared up from it, but not quite 100% yet. We actually just took a culture yesterday that we sent off to see if there was any bacteria left in there. We think it's pretty much gone, but we'll see. But she's in quarantine. Marty can't live with any other turtles right now until we are 100% sure she doesn't have any of that bacteria left on her. All right, any questions for me before we continue on? All right, let's go meet the rest of the turtles. If you guys will all come and join me out here, I'm going to close this gate up, and once I get everybody out, then we'll head down. Now, Mary Ann, she's also tumor-free. She's just another one that's not quite strong enough and ready to move out of her rehab tank just yet. The professor is still in the process of getting tumors removed. Blinky is still in the process of getting tumors removed. And then Herbert and Squirt down on the end are both also tumor-free. Herbert is just quite strong enough to come out of the tank just yet. Squirt, though, on the end, she not only had fibropapilloma, she took a propeller strike to her head, which fractured her skull. So her skull was still in the process of healing, so that's why she still has to be there in that rehabilitation tank. Okay, so I kind of expressed the name out, but I'm just curious if anybody kind of caught on to it. We met Ginger. We got Lovey, yes, and Gilligan's Island. Gilligan and Thurston are out there in the quadrant. We met Ginger already, and Mary and the Professor Lovey, so Mr. Powell. All these turtles were all rescued by the same man. His name is George. George lives down towards Key West. I don't know what his superpower is, but rescuing sea turtles, obviously. So George brought us 9 sea turtles last year that he spotted and helped us get rescued. George started the Gilligan's Island theme, but I don't know what's going on, George. We don't have the skipper, so George needs to be out there and finding us one more sea turtle so we can have a full cast of Gilligan's Island here at the Turtle Hospital. The turtles are here as well. Now this big pool here is actually the old swimming pool for the motel. When this motel was built, the freshwater supply to the keys was very limited, so they would build natural saltwater pools. The water that's in here just is free flowing in and out. So that's actually why there are fish. You can see the fish in here. They come in here the same time to allow the water to free flow. We got a sample of the turtles today. With George, the turtles are just hanging out in their stage today. Everybody always asks me, how do you get the turtles out of the water? You guys just have to see. Now, out here, folks, this is where we will find our ghost turtle. If we are going to find her today, remember I talked about her in my presentation, the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle that's very shy. She lives in this big pool, but she is a great ghost turtle, very good at hiding from us out here. I don't know if we'll see her today or not, but keep your eyes open for a very lightly colored sea turtle that only has 3 flippers. Now her name is Bender. She's unable to be released because she has bubble butt syndrome, but she did also unfortunately lose a flipper to an entanglement. So she's a 3-flippered Kemp's Ridley sea turtle. Now most of the turtles out here, guys, are ones that are either in that year-long waiting period. We do also have more non-releasable sea turtles, but most of them are green sea turtles. These are going to get fed all day long by the turtles out here. So these guys are going to get turtles out with us this morning as well. Now, if any of you guys would like to help me feed them their turtles down in the can, walk around if you want to, just take a little bit and throw it out there if you want. Before she heads back down. You're so pretty, Bender. Now, Bender is one of our family. That means one of the turtles that stays here at the Turtle Hospital. So she's lived with us since 2005. She's like, oh, I didn't realize there were people. I'm out. That's it. Quickly disappeared like a ghost. But she's one of our family. Then out in the middle, that's the original bubble butt out there. He's very misshapen because of the bubble butt syndrome. It just doesn't allow his shell to grow like it should. He's also paralyzed in his hind flippers. Now, paralysis is another thing that can happen due to the boat strike injuries. Oh, Bender's still up. She's over there swimming underneath bubble butt. But you guys saw in my presentation, their backbone and shell are the same thing. So when they take a severe enough injury to the shell, it can do enough damage to result in paralysis. Now, Bender's still right there underneath of the water, and there's a bigger turtle off to the side of her that just has half of a front flipper. He's another family member, that's Montel. Guys, if it could go wrong for Montel, it did. He lost his left front flipper to an entanglement. He only has half of his right front flipper from getting bitten by a shark. There's a dent in his shell from being hit by a boat. He lost one of his eyes to the fibropapilloma tumors. Montel's lived with us since 2004. Bender, I said it, she'd been here since 2005. Of course, original Bubble Butt's been here since 1989. And then everybody else is here, though, is just going through the year-long waiting period. So we have Gracie in here and Stacky. This is where Spanky is at. Thurston is Gilligan. We also have Pearl and Duffy in here. Alright guys, well thank you so much for coming here to our Turtle Hospital today. I hope you've enjoyed the program and learned some fun things about sea turtles. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you guys before you exit. But whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and make your way back up There is some